20 Spiritual Lessons from the Life of Jacob, Genesis 25:50. The life of Jacob is a powerful story of transformation. He started as a deceiver, but through God's discipline, grace, and encounters, he became Israel, a man who walked with God. His life teaches us how God can transform imperfect people and use them for his purpose. 1. God has a purpose for our lives before we are born, Genesis 25:23. God's plan for Jacob existed even before his birth. Our lives are not accidental. God has a divine purpose. 2. Value spiritual blessings above temporary pleasures. Genesis 25:29-34. Esau rejected his birthright for a temporary meal. We should never exchange eternal blessings for temporary desires. 3. God's blessings should be received in God's way. Genesis 27. Jacob desired the blessing but used deception. A right desire with a wrong method is still wrong. 4. Our choices have consequences. Genesis 27:41-45. Jacob's deception brought painful consequences, but God used those experiences to shape him. 5. God meets us even in our lonely moments. Genesis 28:10-17. At Bethel, when Jacob was alone and running away, God appeared to him and gave promises. 6. God's promises are greater than our weaknesses. Genesis 28:15. God promised, "I am with you and will not leave you." 7. God uses circumstances to transform our character. Genesis 29:31. Through difficult experiences with Laban, God changed Jacob's heart. 8. God's discipline is also his training. Genesis 31:41. 20 years of hardship prepared Jacob for his destiny. 9. Seek God's blessing through prayer. Genesis 32:26. Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." 10. An encounter with God changes our identity. Genesis 32:28. Jacob became Israel. God changes who we are. 11. Brokenness can become a place of strength. Genesis 32:31. Jacob walked with a limp, depending more on God than himself. 12. God restores broken relationships. Genesis 33:4. God brought reconciliation between Jacob and Esau. 13. Remember your spiritual experiences with God. Genesis 35:1-7. Jacob returned to Bethel and renewed his commitment to God. 14. Spiritual leadership begins at home. Genesis 35:2. Jacob purified his household and led his family toward God. 15. Faith should be passed to the next generation. Genesis 48. Jacob blessed his children and grandchildren. 16. God's plans are higher than human understanding. Romans 9:11-13. God's purposes are fulfilled according to his wisdom and grace. 17. Your past does not define your future. Genesis 35:10. The deceiver became a man used by God. 18. God's timing is always perfect. Jacob waited many years before seeing God's promises fulfilled. 19. Finish life with faith. Hebrews 11:21. Jacob's final years were marked by faith and worship. 20. God can transform a Jacob into an Israel. Genesis 32:28. God takes weak, broken people and turns them into instruments of his glory. Final thought. Jacob's story teaches us, God does not look for perfect people. He transforms surrendered people. The God who changed Jacob into Israel can also transform our lives for his purpose.